Throwback to the first time in history where a U.S. president publicly called out Pakistan for its support of terrorist organizations.
The next pillar of our new strategy is to change the approach and how to deal with Pakistan. We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists.
Although this is the first time a U.S. official has publicly acknowledged its ally Pakistan's involvement in supporting terrorist organizations, I mean, this is nothing new. We know that during the Obama administration, when the United States had located and assassinated Osama bin Laden, that they actually had kept Pakistan entirely in the dark, despite Osama bin Laden being located in Pakistani territory. I believe it was near Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan. And the reason why the U.S. government kept Pakistan in the dark was because they knew that if they had informed Pakistan that they had located Osama bin Laden and were planning to assassinate him, that Pakistan would have immediately moved Osama bin Laden to a different safe house. Why? Because they knew where Osama bin Laden was the entire time. They were sheltering him. The reason why this is important is because for those of you who are not familiar with the FATA regions in Pakistan, that stands for the Federally Administered Tribal Areas. There's a long history here, but basically, this specific plot of land is inhabited by Pashtuns, which is just the Pashtuns who live in Pakistan. They speak Pashto. And the federally administered tribal areas, despite being within Pakistani territory, is actually independent of Pakistani law. Pakistani law does not apply to them. So what this means is that it allows Pakistan to do two things at the same time. The first is that it allows them to claim that they do not support terrorist organizations, when in fact, of course, they do. And the second is that it allows them to have a hub where terrorists can be armed, trained, funded, where they can recruit and then just launch an assault into Afghanistan, whether it's through the Khyber Pass or through the many different passes from Pakistan to Afghanistan. Now, during the, 20-year or so conflict that the U.S. had with Pakistan's Taliban, what we saw here was that after 2001, September 11th, the United States was able to come in, and after some conflict, they were able to push Pakistani Taliban out. Now, what happened was that these groups, these militant groups, whether it's the Al Qaeda or the Taliban, were able just to flee into Pakistan, specifically the FATA regions. They were able to rearm, retrain, re-recruit because there were plenty of sanctuaries waiting for them there, and then restart, I suppose, their assault on Afghanistan. So the lives, both Afghan and U.S. lives that were lost in this conflict, were ultimately meaningless because the United States knew from the very beginning that Pakistan was the one supporting the Taliban. That in fact, without Pakistani support, the Taliban would not be nearly as successful as it was. And we saw that as soon as the United States did pull out, under the traitor Ashraf Ghani, the coward Ashraf Ghani, the disgraced president, Afghanistan very quickly fell to the Taliban. And the reason being is because Afghanistan's leadership were incredibly corrupt, its military was underfunded, and the Taliban assault, the Taliban attack on Afghan soil from Pakistan was largely therefore unchallenged. So just credit where credit is due. A lot of people are very critical of Trump. I mean, I am on certain issues as well, but he is the only president in U.S. history to actually call out Pakistani support of terrorist organizations. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that